makes me stretching and yawning in a bed that don't belong to me. Then a voice yells, "Good morning, darling," from the bathroom. Then she comes out and kisses me, and to my surprise, she ain't you. Now I've got this dumb look on my face, like what have I done? How could I be so stupid to be have made it till the morning sun? Lost the track of time. What was on my mind? The club went to a home. Didn't plan to stay there long. Here I am, quickly trying to put on my clothes, searching for my car keys, trying to get them up out the door. Then she stretched her hands in front of me, said, "You can't go this way." Looked at her like she was crazy. Said, "Woman, move out my way." Said, "I got a wife at home." She said, "Please don't go out there. Lady, I've got to get home." She said her husband was coming up the stairs. Shh, quiet. Hurry up and get in the closet. She said, "Don't you make a sound, or some shit is going down." I said, "Why don't I just go out the window?" Yes, except for one thing, we on the fifth floor. Shit, quick, put me in the closet. And now I'm in this darkest closet trying to figure out just how I'm gonna get my crazy ass about this house. Then he walks in and yells, "I'm home." She says, "Honey, I'm in the room." Walks in there with a smile on his face, saying, "Honey, I've been missing you." She hops all over him and says, "I've cooked and ready your bed for her." I'm telling you now, this girl's so good that she deserves an Oscar. Throws her in the bed and starts snatching her clothes off. I'm in the closet like, man, what the fuck is going on? You're not gonna believe it, but things get deeper as the story goes on. Next thing you know, a call comes through on my cell phone. I try my best to quickly put it on vibrate, but from the way he acted, I could tell it was too late. He hopped up and said, "There's a mystery going on, and I'm gonna solve it." And I'm like, "God, please don't let this man open his closet." He walks in the bathroom and looks behind the door. She says, "Baby, come back to me." He says, "Bitch, say no more." He pulls back the shower curtain while she's burning her nails. Then he walks back to the room. Right now it's sweating like hell. Checks under the bed, then opens the dresser. He looks at the closet. I pull out my Miranda. He walks up to the closet. Get closer to the closet. Now he's at the closet. Now he's opening the closet. Well, now he's staring at me now, as if he was staring in the mirror. She yells, "Honey, let me explain." He says, "You don't have to go no further. I can clearly see what's going on behind my back, in my bed, in my home." Then I said, "Wait a minute now, hold on." I said, "Mister, we can work this out." She said, "Honey, don't lose control." I tried to get him to calm down. He said, "Oh, I should have known that you would go and do some bogus shit in my house." But the Christian in me gave me the benefit of the doubt. I said, "We need to resolve this." Then he stepped to me and like, "Whoa, there's a reason I'm in this closet." He says, "Yeah, what are you talking clothes?" I met this girl at the Pages Club and she told me she didn't have a man. Then he said, "Man, please, I'd kill you if you didn't have that gun in your hand." And then I said, "But your chick chose me." He said, "Don't give me that back shit, please." His phone goes off and then things get a little more interesting. He steps a little closer, point my gun and says, "I'm not the one you after." He says, "Some, I bet you didn't know my man. Did she tell you that I was a pastor?" I said, "Well, good, that's better, right? Why can't we handle this Christian life?" And I started to put the gun down till I saw his face still had a frown. She started crying, saying, "Baby, I'm sorry." Then he said, "Baby, not as sorry as you're gonna be." I started bitching out. He says, "No, I want you to see this." He said, "I gotta get out this house." And I tell him, "Reveal my secret." I'm like, "What is going on?" myself, this is some deep shit. Then I said, so you're gonna tell me he's the one you've been talking to? He says yes, I says no, he says yes, I says no, he says it's the truth. I yell, all of y'all ass crazy, let me up out this door. Because this is way more than I bargained for. And then she says, wait, I'm sure we can all fix this. And then I said, I'm late, plus I ain't got a damn thing to do with this. And then she said, but wouldn't you like to know just how it all began? Then I thought to myself and said, quick, you got 3 minutes. And then it got real quiet. I said, somebody start talking. Then she said, my God, Rufus, I've got just one question. How could you do something like this? I'm so hurt. Then he looked at her and said, bitch, please, you got your nerves. With all your club hopping, lying, saying you were shopping. And now here you are in our home, and you're calling me wrong. She said, okay, you busted me, and that much I agree. You called me cheap too, but this is a little extreme. He said, you are my wife, sleeping behind my back. And now come home and you got him in the closet. How extreme is that? She says, but she's a he. Then he said, please, you can't judge me. She says, Rufus, this is crazy. Then I said, stop arguing. I did not stay here to hear y'all chew each other out. So get to the point, or I swear I'm out. Excuse me, please, but I think I can explain what's going on in here. My name is Chuck, and I've been knowing Rufus about a year. And at night creeping around with him, it's been a living hell. Sleeping in and out of hotels, I said, brother, spare me the details. The Rufus said, Chuck, please, don't say nothing else. And then she screamed, Rufus, you son of a bitch. And he says, Kathy, go to hell. I said, I thought your name was Mary. It's what you said at the party. Man, this is getting scary. I'm gonna shoot somebody. Then Rufus started yelling and screaming, said, Kathy, this is all your fault. She throws a pillow at him and says she was screaming to him. The only difference is you didn't get caught. Chuck screamed out, we're in love. Kathy says, that's my ass. Rufus said, getting married. Then I shoot one in the air. Cause they never know what you saw. So can't just say a word. Cause all of this shit I'm going through is unheard. Grandma say it loud. Say this is so wrong. Call up my home. And a man picks up the phone. Now I'm dashing home, doing 85, swerving lane to lane, a fire in my eyes. I've got a million thoughts going through my mind. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, who I'm gonna do it to when I get home. How could I have been so blind? And then I look in my rearview, I cannot believe this. Damn, here comes a policeman. He drove right up on me, then flashed his lights. Then I pulled over without thinking twice. He hops out the car and walks over to me and says, license and registration, please. I looked up at him and said, officer, is there something wrong? He said, what's up, you're doing 60 in the 40 mile zone. And then I said, officer, let me explain, please. You see, the truth of the matter is that I've got an emergency. He said, no excuses and no exceptions. He flicks his cigarette and then gives me the ticket. Said, have a nice day and walked away. I said, yeah, right, and drove away. And then I turned my radio on and did 55 all the way home. I pull up in the driveway, hop down and slam the car door. Then go around the back, bust up in the house and she's screaming, what's all that for? Then I'm like, woman, I called this house and a man picked up my phone. And she says, calm down, did you forget my brother Tron came home? Oh, and that's all I could say was, oh, with a stupid look on my face. Said I forgot he came home today. And she says, that's okay, because honey, I understand. She said, you don't have to explain. Then I took her by the hand, I kissed her and then we went to the room. And then I turned some music on, apologized one more time. Then went down and started getting it on. And she started biting her lips, grabbing me and making Now we're making love and she's in my ear whispering, it's all yours. I said I love you, and she said I love you too. And a tear fell up out my eye, then I called her my sunshine. And then she looked at me and said, baby, go deeper please. And that's when I started going crazy like I was trying to give her, baby. The room feel like it's spinning, cause we keep turning and turning, as if we were in a whirlwind. The way our toes are curling. And next thing you know, she started going real wild and screaming my name. And then I said, baby, we must slow down before I bust a vessel in my brain. She said, please don't stop. And I said, I'm gonna cry. And she said, please keep on going. I said, my leg is about to crack. Then she cries out, oh my goodness, I'm about to climax. And I say, cool climax. Let's take off my legs. She says, you're my perfect love. I said, I can't go no further. Then I flip back the cover. Oh my God, a rubber. And now I'm like, well, what the f is this? A condom in my bed. You better start talking, bitch, before I take a match and burn this motherfucker down. I said you better start talking right goddamn now. Then she said, baby, I'm so speechless. Then I said, my baby, you gon' be breathless if you don't start talking quick. Woman, I'm gon' have a fit. You don't know what you're fucking with. Girl, you better cut the bullshit. Now it's obvious somebody has been all up in my home, in my bed. And plus I smell cigarettes. Now I'm sniffing and looking around, suspicious like someone's here. And then I looked in her eyes, and in her eyes there was so much fear. Pull out my gun, said, is he still here? She shook her head and said, no. I'm checking behind every door. She cried out, he left right after you called. I said, what the f was you thinking? You thought that I wouldn't find this out. And then I said, you must be crazy. You're on crack to have somebody up in my moving house. She hopped up and said, that's enough. She said, I can't take no more. And then she said, you've made your point, but now it's time to give it a score. She said, I know all about last night and where you went when you left the club. Said, that's right, nigga, I was there with this guy in the back of the club. I said, I thought you was with your girls. She said, I thought you was with your guys. She said, you was at that bitch's house, and don't you even try to act surprised. I said, bitch, she said, shut up. Don't you say a word. It ain't nothing you can say that I ain't already heard. Then I said, woman, don't you try to turn it all around, cause the fact still remains that someone else was in my house. And she said, you're right about that. Something did go down, but I don't have to turn it around, cause what goes around comes back around. I'm moving a little closer to her. She's tripping over the furniture. She said, wait, first just let me explain. I said, no need to, just give me his name. And then she says, I say, what? She says, please sit down in the chair. And I say, no, I'm standing up. And then she cries out, I'm so scared to tell you because of what you might do. And I scream, look, girl, you better give me this man